As we're continuing on in the night, I'm confused about things every once in a while. Do you guys feel that? Sometimes I get confused. I know in high school, I would get confused in physics class. I know in middle school, I would get confused in science class sometimes. My teacher would say something and I'm like, that doesn't make sense. And I would just want to shout out to my teacher, be like, I'm confused. Can you make that make sense for me? And sometimes there's things that don't make sense. Like here's something I'm confused about tonight. I am a little bit confused about coffee chicken. I don't know what it is. But I'm confused why I hate tomatoes, but I love ketchup. You know what I'm talking about? I'm confused why I will be so tired, but the moment I put my head on a pillow, I'm like, bing! Like every thought I've ever had comes back to me. I can't sleep. I'm confused about Android phones. That's it. Hey, I don't have a question about it. I'm just confused about Androids. I don't get it. I'm so sorry if you have one. I don't understand. I'm confused. Why did my mom buy a dog and then make me take care of it? Anyone else know what I'm talking about? You know, okay. Sometimes things don't make sense. But I'm willing to bet the reason that it doesn't make sense is because you don't know the truth about it. Here's the truth as to why you hate tomatoes but love ketchup. Ketchup has so much sugar in it, it's not even funny. And sugar is incredible. The reason your mom bought a dog but is making you take care of it is because you actually wanted the dog and your mom was trying to be nice to you. And it's actually your dog, but you forgot about that. See, sometimes things don't make sense because something is hiding the truth. Doesn't make sense in science class because I don't know the truth about it. Doesn't make sense in math class because the way the teacher explained it, I don't know the truth. I don't really fully understand what I'm supposed to get. And we find that when things are hiding the truth, we're confused, we're lost, we don't know what's going on. But when something uncovers the truth, suddenly it makes sense. Kind of like when you're going to bed at night. You're calm. You just did like your whole skincare routine. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know. I don't have a skincare routine. You just did your whole skincare routine. You got your pillows all fluffed. You turn out the lights and you're just relaxed. And then you look over and you're like, why is there a demon dog in the corner of my room? What's going on? So you like grab your phone flashlight and you turn it on. And you're like, oh, it's just the laundry that I left on the chair over there. You know what I'm talking about? No, you don't know what I'm talking about. Just me? No. Avery's got me. Dude, I see you, bro. I see you. Darkness hides the truth. Darkness covers what things really are. Did you know that around 60% of Americans are either scared of the dark or are really uncomfortable with it? Maybe you are still scared. If you're still scared of the dark, to be honest, don't worry about it. I think if you asked other people, you'd find out that they are actually scared of the dark too. Don't feel self-conscious about it. The dark's weird. You don't know what's in the dark. See, people aren't scared of the dark because of what is in the dark. They're scared of the dark because they don't know what's in the dark. It hides the truth. I've talked about it before, but I ride my bike a lot. And I'll take this route to work like almost every single day. But I had to take the same route a couple days ago to go to the Balloon Fiesta in the morning. Who went to the Balloon Fiesta this week? Pretty sick, dude. Saw the Special Shapes Rodeo. I like the cow balloon personally. Maybe it's because my daughter loves the cow balloon. But I had to take my bike the same route because I was going to bike into the Balloon Fiesta instead of driving. It's way faster. You cut all the lines. It's great. When I normally take this route, it is the middle of the day. It is bright outside. The sun is out. It feels so safe. It's so scenic, it's beautiful. But I'm riding my bike and it is 5 a.m. and it is just pitch black. And I'm riding and I'm like kind of scared. I'm like, bro, I know Albuquerque. Like, what if someone like tries to steal my bike or something? What if something's out there? And I'm riding and I'm all sketched out. And then this like owl with a 6-foot wingspan, I'm not joking, like flies out of this tree and I almost fell off my bike. And then literally 2 minutes later, I see this, because I have a headlight, I see this like dog in the middle of the road. I'm like, why is there a dog out? And there's a coyote just chilling in the middle of the bike path. And because it's dark outside, I felt really nervous about riding my bike. I actually changed the route that I normally take because this other route is going to have more light on it than the route that I normally take. You see, when darkness hides the truth, it can be really scary. It can be really unsettling. And you might just have all this stuff going on inside because you're scared of what you don't know. You might be scared of the dark. But did you know that the dark is scared of something too? Darkness is scared of light. Of you? That would be cool. Darkness is scared of the light. We're reading in John 8 today, and Jesus says about himself, he says, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. You see, we're so often scared of the dark because we don't know what it is. We don't really know what to do with all that stuff that could be out there. We don't know how to get rid of the light or the darkness sometimes. But when it's dark in your room and you need to see what's going on, what do? You just turn a light on. I don't know if you know this about light. Maybe you've learned this in science class. Light isn't just like, we can't really like feel it or like touch it, but light is actually a particle and a wave, that's another thing. But it's a particle, it's a thing. You can't grab light, but light is actually like a particle. You see, the sun gives off a lot of light, doesn't it? But the sun, the reason it gives off light is because there's a bunch of explosions, nuclear explosions happening in the sun all of the time. And it's sending off these photons out into space. And when these photons finally get to us, they start to fill the space that darkness had. See, an interesting thing here, darkness and light cannot exist in the same space. See, if light is a particle, if it's a thing, it takes up space. When you fill up your water bottle, maybe you're in sports, maybe you're in football. You're like, dude, I'm gonna need some water for my practice. Your water bottle, when it's empty, is actually full of air, isn't it? Yeah. When you fill up your water bottle with water, it pushes all of the air out of it, and it replaces water inside the water bottle. The same thing is true for light. The reason your room is dark at night is because there are not light particles filling your room. But when you turn on your light, it pushes the darkness out of the space, and it fills the space that darkness had with light. And what Jesus is saying here in the second part, saying, if you follow me, the light of the world, you will not walk in darkness, but you will have the light of life. See, we're going through a series. It's called Jesus Is. People have a lot of things to say about Jesus, about who he was, but I figured we should probably just ask Jesus who he thinks he is, right? We should just ask him what he says about himself. And in the book of John, there are 7 statements where Jesus makes a claim about himself and who he is. And this week, he says this statement. He says, I am the light of the world. We all have some sort of darkness inside of us. I think everybody in here can say that there's something about yourself that you don't like. I think everybody in here has parts of themselves that they're scared of. Man, maybe there's things that you've had thoughts of, you're like, why am I having this thought? What is going on? Why is this here? What do I even do with this? If people knew this about me, what would they say? Or maybe there's things that someone has done to you in your past, and you're like, people can't find out about this. Because if they knew about this, what would they say? We all have parts of us that we don't know what to do with. We mess up. We don't do the right thing. We're mean. Maybe we're angry. These dark things inside of us, and we don't know what to do with them. Maybe you're in here and you actually have a lot of questions about yourself. You have a lot of questions about the things that you've been feeling. You're confused by things going on in your life. And I'm here to tell you the reason that you're so confused about it is because there's something blocking the truth. There is a darkness blocking the truth about you. There is darkness blocking the truth about who God made you to be. And until there is a light that shines on that darkness, you will continue to be confused about these things. The hardest part about those dark parts of us is we want them to stay in the dark, right? I want you to think about the most embarrassing thing that you've done. And maybe you've even trauma blocked it out of your brain. Maybe it was the way, I don't know, you did something silly in front of the person that you liked. Bro, maybe you asked out a girl and she rejected you in front of all of your friends. Dude, maybe you were it's like literally game point. It's tied up. There's 5 seconds left on the clock and you've got the ball and it's on you. And you miss and you just brick. It just misses completely. There's all these things that we don't like about ourselves and we don't want other people to know about them. You see, the hard part about darkness, the hard part about your darkness, is it wants to stay hidden. It does not want the light to shine on it. Why? Because darkness is scared of light. We have flashlights, don't we? We don't have a flash dark. You can't do that. You can't send out darkness to push light out of a place. Light always pushes darkness away. And the darkness inside of you doesn't want anything to do with the light, because if the light touches it, it has to go away. You see, when I read the Bible, a lot of the confusing things in the world start to make sense. The questions about, why are people so mean? Man, why does it feel so bad when someone does that to me? Man, why do I mess up time after time after time when I just keep trying my best? See, all of these things that confuse the world that people have been trying to fix forever, world peace, man, the problem with bullies, the problem with cheating, the problem with stealing, all of these things, when I read the Bible and I read about God, it starts to make a lot of sense. Because when we read the beginning of the Bible, it talks about how God made the world, and it was good. There weren't these dark things on the earth. The only darkness that existed was when the earth rotated around and it wasn't seeing the sun anymore. There was no more spiritual darkness. There was no evil. But then darkness entered the world because Satan tricked humanity into start sinning. And instead of them taking care of each other, they turned against each other. And once a relationship between a husband and a wife, the first human beings, it was good, it was light, it was incredible. Suddenly this darkness enters it and they start tearing each other apart. And literally like the second and third human beings born, they hated each other so much, or one of them did, that he ends up killing his brother. You see, the moment the darkness entered the world, all of the light that God had shined upon the earth started to change, and it started to make things confusing. So the reason that it's so important that Jesus says, I am the light of the world, is because Jesus knows that there's a darkness in this world that is confusing you. A darkness in this world that's messing up your relationships. A darkness in this world that's making you think things about yourself that are not true. A darkness in this world that is trying to cover the truth about God so that way darkness can stick around forever. What did Jesus come to do, though? Jesus came to be the light that shines on the earth and casts away that spiritual darkness. You see, in every area that we mess up, that we don't do things correctly, Jesus did it. He did not sin. He lived a perfect life. He did what no man could do. But he did one thing specifically that's incredible. He took on the darkest thing this world has ever seen. I think some of the darkest things that we see is death, right? Some of the darkest times, some of the saddest parts of people's lives is when someone dies. Death is dark. There's no more hope after that. There's no light with death. It's kind of the end. But Jesus, when he died on a cross, he didn't stay dead. He rose from the dead. He took on the ultimate darkness. And we talked about it last week, that if anyone believes in him, they will have eternal life. You see, all of the darkness that you're scared of, Jesus is not scared of it. Jesus took it on. He defeated it. When Jesus is around, the darkness has to go. And you might find yourself in here feeling really terrified of yourself. I'm terrified of what I could do. I'm terrified of what I might do to my friend. I'm terrified of these thoughts that I'm having. I don't know what to do about it, though it's not going away. I'm scared of how angry I am inside. But I can't stop it. I'm so scared because I can't do anything about it. Jesus is the light of the world. And he is not scared of your darkness. Your deepest, darkest secret that you don't want anybody to know about, Jesus isn't scared of it. See, this is kind of funny though, because I feel like when people show up to a church, they kind of think it should be the opposite. They kind of think that God is scared of their sin, that God is scared of the bad things that they've done. So they get really uncomfortable. Oh, man, I know that I'm a sinner. I shouldn't even be in this room. Like, what am I doing here? I don't even really believe this stuff. Like, what's going on? I shouldn't be here. People think that God is scared of darkness, but he's not. He's so much bigger than the darkness. And maybe you showed up tonight with something in your mind that you've been hiding from your parents, that you've been hiding from your friends, you've been hiding from your leaders. And it just sits there in this darkness. And no matter how much you try and forget about it, it doesn't go away. And you don't know what to do anymore. You're in the right place. Jesus is the light of the world, and he is not scared of your darkness. And if you let him into your life, it says that whoever follows him, it doesn't say everybody. It says whoever follows Jesus will no longer walk in the darkness, but they will have the light of life. You see, when we start to live the way that Jesus did, when we accept that he is our Savior, that he died on a cross to destroy our darkness, and we accept him and follow him and live the way that he's asked us to, suddenly that darkness starts to disappear. You don't really know what happened. You don't know how it changed or why it changed. Well, I'll tell you what happened. Jesus is the light of the world, and he started to get rid of the darkness for you. You don't have to be scared of the darkness in your life, because there's something stronger than your darkness, and his name is Jesus. When Jesus said he's the light of the world, this is what he means. He means that he gets rid of evil. He came to destroy evil and get rid of it from humanity. And he wants to get rid of it in you if you'll let him. Another thing you need to know about as we're talking about Jesus is you need to know that light and life are best friends. Read that verse again. Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. I don't know who your best friend at school is, but I bet you the people at school do. Because you're always hanging out with each other, right? Dude, even here, I know some of you guys are best friends. How? Because you're always hanging out together. Man, your best friend is someone that sticks with you. Your best friend is someone that you do everything with together. That's what makes you best friends, right?
Yes, sir.
I always see you two together. You guys are on the same football team? Let's go, dude. Best friends always go with each other. And Jesus is saying here that light and life always go with each other. Let me just ask you a question. Who thinks that life is a good thing? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. It should be everybody. So if you don't think that life is a good thing, that's kind of tough. We should have a conversation after. Life is a good thing. Everyone is always looking for a good life. Your parents are probably looking for a good life. Maybe they changed jobs recently. Your dad changed jobs recently because he's trying to have a better life. You like when your life is going well. Maybe you decided to not do your homework and play video games instead because you're like, no, I want to have a good life. I want to have a good night. I want to play video games all day, every day. Do your homework. It's really important. You'll have a better life later if you do it. Everyone is looking for a good life. And when Jesus is talking about this life, he's not talking about a life that's depressing, that's full of anxiety, that's a life that you don't want to live anymore. He's talking about the best life ever. He's talking about the thing that you've actually been looking for. He's talking about the happily ever after that are talked about in movies. He's talking about a life worth living, where in John 10 he says it's a life to the full. You see, light and the best life ever go together. The problem with life is sin. It's darkness. It's evil. And the reason that people don't like their life is because of the effects of sin on the world. It's because of the effects of sin in their own life. So the cool thing about light and life being best friends is that if you have light, you have a better life. You have a life that doesn't have the darkness that's making you not really like your life. See, I love that light and life go together, because it means that if I have light, maybe I'll have the thing that I've been looking for. And the other thing I love about this is Jesus says where to get the light. He doesn't confuse you and say, go figure it out somehow. Go sit in a room and pray until you figure it out. Go chase after some job or go chase after some relationship until you find light. No, he starts off the sentence by saying, are you looking for life? Are you looking for light? guess what? I'm the light that you are looking for. You see, Jesus wasn't just a man. Jesus is God. He is God. He's God that came down in human flesh and lived a life for us, so that way we wouldn't have to live a terrible life covered in darkness. Jesus was there when the world was made. Jesus was there when darkness entered the world. Jesus is the only one that has the truth about the beginning of the universe. Jesus is the only one that has the truth about what happens to you when you die. Jesus is the only one that has the truth for how to live a better life. And what he's saying is, if you have me in your life, you will have a better life. Those things that confuse you, I'll tell you about them. Those things that you're unsure of, I'll help you figure those things out. Jesus doesn't want you to live life alone. He wants you to live life with him. The thing about light, and the issue with this, is you can cover yourself from the light. Does the sun ever stop shining? It doesn't stop shining. No, the sun is always going. The only way that you don't experience the light from the sun is when something covers it. An eclipse covers it, right? Good job. You can take an umbrella and you can cover the sun. And everyone's like, well, if God is real, if the light of the world is real, then why is there so much bad stuff happening? And it's because the world decides to cover the light of God with sin, with doubt, with unbelief. And they do not get to experience the full light of Jesus. You see, I think that some of us in here, maybe we do have something dark that's kind of just hiding inside of us. Maybe there's something that we're doing, there's something that we're scared of. There's something we don't want anybody else to know about. And we keep putting this umbrella. We don't even want God to know about it. We're like, no, I can't go to church. No, I can't pray. No, I can't read my Bible this morning. Why? Because I don't want God to talk to me about this thing that I know is wrong. And we start experiencing, man, I used to feel his light. I don't feel it anymore. See, maybe it's not that God isn't real. Maybe it's not that God stopped loving you, because I can tell you he loves you no matter what you've done. But maybe that thing that we are hiding, that we're keeping in a dark closet of our heart, we refuse to open the door and let the light in. See, there's a door inside of your heart. But the interesting thing is the doorknob is on the inside. Only you can open your heart to Jesus. There's a verse where it says that Jesus stands at the door and he knocks. But Jesus is a gentleman. Even though he made you, even though he knows everything about you, even though he has every right to be in your life, he will not force himself into your life. Jesus has given every man a choice to follow him or not. But we stand with these things inside of our heart, this darkness that we don't know what to do with, and we wish that someone would just take it away. And Jesus is like, I can take it away. But you have to open the door. You have to let me in. I won't kick down the door for you. So the band can come back up, and if we could just get the lights down in this room. Maybe there's something that you just won't tell your parents. You won't tell your leader. You don't want to pray about it. You want to tell people how you've been feeling about yourself. You won't tell them that. You don't want to talk to anyone about the thing that that person said to you. And it's been sitting in your heart and just growing and growing and growing. The thing about shame, about guilt, about sin, about darkness is the more that it sits in darkness by itself, the worse it gets. I don't know if you've seen photos of things that live at the bottom of the ocean. They're disgusting, dude. They're really gross. Or things like, I don't know, maybe your parents have had like mold in the house. Oh, gross. Mold is disgusting. Mold grows in the darkness. Disgusting blobfish and weird fish in the bottom of the ocean. The reason they look like that is because some of the grossest, disgusting things grows in the darkness, but as soon as it's exposed to light, it doesn't live anymore. But there's something like mold that if you leave it there and do nothing about it, it's not going to take care of itself. And maybe there's some mold growing in your life right now. Maybe there's some darkness that you haven't told anyone about, that you're nervous about, that you're scared about. You don't know what to do with it anymore. You need to take the umbrella away. You need to expose it to the light so that way it will go away. We're coming up on time. I just want to close by just reading you a story. And this is a story about Jesus. It's a story about how Jesus treats a person who's messed up, who's done something wrong. Early in the morning, Jesus went again to the temple. All the people came to him and he sat down and taught them. The scribes and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in adultery, and placing her in the midst, they said to him, "Teacher, this woman has been caught in the act of adultery. Now in the law, Moses commanded us to kill such a woman. So what do you say, Jesus?" This they said to test him, that they might have some charge to bring against him. But Jesus bent down and wrote with his finger on the ground. And as they continued to ask him, he stood up and said to them, "Let him who is without sin among you be the first to throw a stone at her." And once more he bent down and wrote on the ground. But when they heard it, they went away one by one, beginning with the older ones, and Jesus was left alone with the woman standing before him. Jesus stood up and said to her, "Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you?" She said, "No one, Lord." And Jesus said, "Neither do I condemn you. Go, and from now on, sin no more." You see, some people use a fake light to expose you, to drag you out in front of everyone and say, "Look at what they've done. Look at how bad they are. You shouldn't like this person." But what they're using is they're not using the full truth. They're not using the full light. See, my wife and I, some of the lights in our house, they can actually be a different color. They're RGB lights, and sometimes we like to read with like a different color on. And what I've noticed is that my book cover, when I read with an orange light, looks completely different than when there's a normal light on. And sometimes people use a light that is not the right color, and they try and cast a half-truth about you. They try and say something that is true about you to get you to feel some sort of way. The difference with Jesus is that Jesus tells the full truth. You see a light like this, it's made up of a bunch of different colors. It's called the electromagnetic spectrum. With Jesus' light, with his truth, he uses all of it. So when Satan comes and says, "Look at what this person has done. Look at how dark they are. Look at how scared of them you should be," he's only saying the half-truth. When Jesus exposes something in the light, and he exposes the darkness in your heart to his light, he says, "I know what you've done, but look at what I did for you." You see, Jesus did not condemn this woman. Jesus did not make this woman, he didn't judge her, but he wanted to transform the dark things that she was doing into light. And he says, "I don't condemn you. Sin no more."